Want to know the latest innovation in engineering? Are you curious about how technology and machinery works? The Kenya Engineer has answers for you. We are an authoritative journal covering engineering stories in Kenya and across East Africa. Log on to www.kenyaengineer.co.ke and get the latest on engineering jobs and tenders. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and join the amazing world of engineering. Kenya Engineer, mystifying engineering.
Awesome. Brought to you by Kenya Engineer and Rhino Cement.
The vision of the Lake Basin Development Authority is to spur development in this region to a point where what the government defines in terms of the Vision 2030, our main issue is to interfere with the economic pillar and also the social pillar. Once people can increase their incomes in whatever way, then we feel we'll have contributed to the government's Vision 2030.
The key to combating poverty by increasing food production lies with the Kenyan engineer. The involvement of the engineer in the agricultural sector has not only increased food production but also seen an increase in Kenya's economic status. This can be directly linked to the fact that agriculture remains the backbone of Kenya's economy through increased produce, employment creation, and subsequent poverty reduction. Latest statistics indicate that 68% of Kenyans live in rural areas and derive their livelihood from agriculture. Most of these farmers rely on subsistence farming and without appropriate technology cannot even produce food for their family's consumption. Food insecurity has become a menace for the Kenyan economy, with half of the Kenyan population being food insecure. Experts now agree that application of engineering technology would actually lower production costs, increase land yields, improve incomes, and contribute to economic growth.
The biggest challenges in Kenya is going to be the constant change that so much of the commercial farmland is being reduced in acreage and one thing another. And I think we have got to learn how to adapt to find niche markets or positions that we're going to be able to improve that small-scale farmer to make him more productive. Because at the moment, the small-scale farmer is got a control of a lot of land, but a lot of them are not producing the crops that we'd like to see them produce.
The engineers have taken up to the challenge and are now involved in the mechanizations of agriculture. Through these technologies, farmers are now able to appropriate agricultural technology to increase food production.
Before we embraced this technology of CA, conservation agriculture, we were tilling. We used to do tilling. And by then, we used to use about 8 tractors doing the same job, which now we are using only 1 tractor to do all that job that was being done with 7 to 8 tractors. With the machinery we are using, you see the cost would be high. Now you can imagine having 8 tractors, meaning that your spare parts, we are able to save even the cost of fuel.
The high cost of farm input and poor infrastructure and uneven distribution of rice mills has led to a decline in rice production.
Watusaidie kwa kutafuta soko.
They should help us get a market for our produce.
Kama tungepata soko.
If we can get a market, our children can go to school.
Hata tunaweza kuwa na mabadiliko mingi.
Irrigation is a new dimension of farming in this area. So after the feasibility study, it was found that the most really, what was really required here was, what was lacking here was water. And they found that for water to be here, it has to be a subsystem which is sustainable. And it was found that irrigation system which is flowing by gravity, whereby a system called a weir was to be built. So a weir, first of all, is a structure built across the river, lifting the water up so that it may flow by gravity downwards without any kind of other system. After that, the system, which is major canals, were built so that they could take water to each and every block. That's 44 blocks.
However, the introduction of new sustainable machinery has seen low input costs and high productivity. The growing concern that many of the farmers could not implement the contemporary farming systems gave rise to a new kind of engineer, the agricultural engineer. The role of the agricultural engineer is to suggest, develop, and implement agricultural, horticultural, and forestry machinery and processes that are user-friendly and effective.
The entire spectrum of development as far as social and economic platforms are concerned, the real opportunity and the real strategy to harness the potential of engineers is clearly the quickest way for our solutions and opportunities of competitiveness, because it's through engineers that they create a natural interface between processes and technologies and people. It's their ability to envision what's expected and turn it around into a technical solution. It's also through their ability to ensure that modern plants and equipment and structures and infrastructure is effectively maintained at an efficient level, which enables them to get the maximum use of that investment. So it's twofold. It's an expected role of an opportunity of innovating, of designing and developing new structures, of owning some of the processes, and then going on to understanding our unique social and economic needs, and building systems and building technologies which provide solutions. And it's at the same time to ensure that our systems are sustainable, that they're able to be maintained, that they're able to give the utmost value for the purchase price of equipment and so on. And so you'll all agree that that ensuring that we have a high level capacity base for engineering becomes absolutely crucial going forward as we move to an innovation-driven economy.
The agricultural engineer also advises farmers, companies, and the government on sustainable land use for maximum production.
As a farmer, if you keep on growing the same crop, there is going to be a build-up of diseases, which is going to cost you money to control. So that is the biggest problem when you grow one crop. Now, to be successful in this game, you have to do your rotational cropping. For example, you do brassicas, then come do your cereals. Like for example, I can give an example, grow sunflower, okay, or canola. Then after that, I can grow either wheat or maize. So I'm able to confuse that, the nature. That is, I'm able to confuse the diseases build up. So in a way, there has been quite a lot of improvement. But the big challenge has been in terms of weeds. There are some weeds that are starting to be resistant.
At university level, the agricultural engineering course is designed with an emphasis on a practical approach, incorporating the current advancements in technology.
It's an ongoing process, and continuous professional development plays one of the largest roles in the transformation of our businesses today. Continuous professional development in engineers plays a significant role in an engineer's ability to understand the characteristics of the systems, how the systems fail, how to adapt new systems into existing technologies and structures and processes, and also how to monitor and ensure that organizations are able to get the utmost out of their existing structures and infrastructure. And CPD, continuous professional development, comes in all sorts of forms and capacities. It could be attitudinal change, the ability for an engineer to engage and to collectively lead a team, to effectively bring about a consensus to an issue, or to understand the needs of a shop floor workperson, to high-end skills which are found in automation systems, robotics, how to integrate factory systems and processes so that they most efficiently work together and there's very little downtime on systems, as well as productivity losses.
This is crucial in enhancing the performance of the agricultural sector. Engineers have provided practical training to farmers and contribute practical solutions to agricultural production problems. They have also been engaged in the planning and designing of soil and water conservation engineering structures and modern irrigation and drainage systems.
Night storage is used to store water, basically, so that during the day water goes there, and then during the night water will go to the night storages, and then in the day people can use water from the night storages for irrigation. Yeah, so that we cannot interfere with the natural flow of the water of the river. So it safeguards the flow of the river, so that other users may also continue to use it downwards.
Their knowledge in ecosystems has made it possible to implement sustainable machinery that have maximum production and least harm to the environment.
It's conservation agriculture, or in other words, you can call it zero tillage. Zero tillage, it means you don't plow. You leave the shamba without plowing. So there are quite a lot of benefits in it. With the change of climate change, we are able now to get our moisture. Now, given the different climatical changes, the climatical pattern changing, so we are able to grow our crops year in, year out, because there's a lot of moisture conserved. You don't disturb the soil. At the same time, the microbial activities, you find that the soil remain naturally as it was. Another thing, you are able to be on top of diseases, because now with this technology you're able to change. You're able to grow different crops different times.
The agricultural engineer has therefore been able to apply engineering science and technology to agricultural production and processing. They have worked with other engineers like mechanical engineers, civil engineers, research engineers, and electrical engineers to come up with efficient engines, power supply, water management, and land profiling. In part 2, we analyze some of the challenges the agricultural engineer faces during mechanization.
Want to know the latest innovation in engineering? Are you curious about how technology and machinery works? The Kenya Engineer has answers for you. We are an authoritative journal covering engineering stories in Kenya and across East Africa. Log on to www.kenyaengineer.co.ke and get the latest on engineering jobs and tenders. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and join the amazing world of engineering. Kenya Engineer, demystifying engineering.
Mechanized agriculture is the process of using agricultural machinery to increase farm worker productivity. Powered machinery has replaced many jobs formerly carried out by men or animals such as oxen, horses, and mules. This has been a great challenge for mechanization because communities have resisted it, assuming that they will be jobless. Current mechanized agriculture includes the use of tractors, trucks, combine harvesters, airplanes as crop dusters, helicopters, and other vehicles for crop production.
John Deere has introduced as leader in what they call AMS, which is satellite control of steering and control of machinery on the ground, in very broad terms. It has revolutionized a lot of the operations to farmers that was very difficult. It gives accountability on every step of the operations that a farmer goes through, whether it's planting, spraying, harvesting. The accuracy is so controlled that the farmer can now be very precise on his applications, his yields, his seed inputs and everything.
In livestock rearing, implementation of portable and friendly equipment for milking has seen an increased production in milk supply. Through sensitization, the agricultural and research engineers have been able to inform the communities that the machine may replace them on the farms, but increased food production will give rise to industries which will in return employ them.
Somehow the labor force has gone down, because for a sprayer we used to have 8 people for one single sprayer. I mean, to guide the driver while spraying. But now I'm able to just use one driver, following the traffic, following the GPS, getting the line straight. So in a way we are able to save on our labor.
In fish farming, there has been a realization of effective investment in the water control technology, rehabilitation and modernization of infrastructure of the existing schemes.
The issue was that there was only what we call capture fisheries. Capture fisheries means people depended on the lake. Unfortunately, we have observed through scientific research that these resources, lake fish, is declining. And it's declining because of very many reasons, including overfishing. But Lake Basin thought it wise in those early days to start what we call inland fisheries production, and that's by using ponds. To date, we have technology transfer centers for fish and even for agriculture in terms of livestock. This is meant to teach the farmers of the communities to be able to get the knowledge of fisheries production and produce fish in their own backyard. We want to see that fish production goes to commercial aspect. And we are here concerned today of what we call a water reticulated system that increases the productivity of fish within your compound or even on a small area. And we are hoping that in future this will form the basis of people's farming fish within the region.
The farm is 5-acre farm. We have a total of 19 ponds. Now these ponds are divided into different usage. We have the nursery ponds, we have the tilapia breeding ponds, and we have the African catfish brooders ponds. This farm was established to serve the community living around this region. That is the Nyanza, Western, and part of Rift Valley. Where we grow both tilapia and catfish in the same pond, we call it polyculture. We can do 2 types of fish in the same pond. And this is what we are practicing even at Kibos Fish Farm. We also have people coming from the community to come and learn what we are doing here. Institutions also come here, like our local universities, come to learn what we are doing here. And therefore, I see it very relevant to the people in this region. The challenges that we experience is the marketing for our fingerlings. Sometimes we overproduce and there are no farmers to come and buy. So we need to have a marketing strategy whereby we produce what we can sell immediately so that we don't mix the ages of fish. Secondly, funding has become a problem. We don't get adequate funds to improve on the facilities that we have in this farm.
To avoid high pumping costs, gravity irrigation systems have been introduced to increase water harvesting and development of water storage infrastructure. Capacity building in irrigation and drainage research and water management is also mandatory.
Water is a component of agriculture and important for agricultural production because the extensive farming we used to do to date maybe that's limited. In Homa Bay County, we have developed Kimiro Luch project, an irrigation project based on 2 river basins there, which is covering 1,500 hectares. It will do agriculture in terms of crops, fisheries, and also be a provider of water to nearby homes, which will benefit from that.
Hapa ilikuwa tunalima tu mahindi, lakini saa zingine maji ikija kwa wingi inaharibu mahindi.
Before, the floods would ruin our maize harvest, but with rice farming, we discovered that rice likes a lot of water.
Sasa tunaona hata maji ikiwa mingi inatusaidia juu hiyo mchele inatumia maji.
Mechanization of agriculture is therefore responsible for urbanization and industrial economies. With mechanization, both the quality and quantity of production is seen.
We always try and help our customers understand their machinery better, because a lot of farmers don't have a machinery background behind them. So we actually spend a lot of time introducing, especially maintenance to farmers generally. That's one of our main objectives with the small farmers.
The food engineer is involved in food processing, food machinery, packaging, and ingredient manufacturing of the crops. The agricultural engineer has made farming more sustainable, safe, and environmentally friendly. By finding better ways of reducing crop loss, agricultural engineers have invented and implemented technologies that reduce damage during handling, sorting, packaging, and processing. The engineer recommends strategies to protect the health, safety, and security of workers, animals, and agricultural products. The electrical engineer has also come in handy to supply efficient power solutions that are sustainable and effective for use in the rural areas. Access to electricity in rural areas has been a hindrance to technological advances. However, it is the work of the engineers to research and develop alternative energy sources that can sustain the suggested development. Waste management is an important aspect for the agricultural engineer. In Kenya, the engineers have come up with ways of recycling the waste for use in energy production and improve soil quality. Also, to avoid too much waste, the engineers research on byproducts that can be produced from these crops. In Kenya, mechanization of agriculture continues to increase food production in the country. As a result, the country is expected to enjoy increased food security. There is still need for these technologies to be implemented in rural areas so that Kenya in totality is free from hunger. By employing these technologies, Kenya will have the technical manpower requirements for the agricultural industry and achieve Vision 2030's goal of industrialization. Organizations dealing with electrical supplies have partnered with agricultural engineers to provide solutions to the energy challenges.
We are present in horticulture, floriculture, quite a few flower farms have been done, coffee industry, and tea. We have done several factories where we supplied the complete electrical solution from the beginning to the end for production of tea. And quite some factories, tea factories, are running with our equipment inside there. Agriculture means also pumping systems which are aligned to it, also automation which is required for the production of various quality of tea or export beans.
Awesome! Brought to you by Kenya Engineer and Reiner Cement.
Want to know the latest innovation in engineering? Are you curious about how technology and machinery works? The Kenya Engineer has answers for you. We are an authoritative journal covering engineering stories in Kenya and across East Africa. Log on to www.kenyaengineer.co.ke and get the latest on engineering jobs and tenders. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and join the amazing world of engineering. Kenya Engineer, demystifying engineering.